Many people feel that once their relationship with the narcissist ends, that's it, and the narcissist will never want to come back. And it's easy to feel that because usually the narcissist discard can be quite brutal. It's a combination of brutality and indifference and confusion that really makes a person feel like they never meant anything to the narcissist. Not to mention the devaluation which would have preceded that, and that could have lasted a long time in itself. And even if the narcissist didn't discard you, let's say you ended up just walking away because of a prolonged, intense devaluation, the feeling is the same. You would have felt like they were behaving brutally towards you and also indifferent. It's like they could care less about your feelings. They just stop showing any signs of empathy. And they're always doing things, even small things, but that would constantly torment you. So it's easy to be left with the impression that they no longer want anything to do with you and you're up to your own devices just to move forward. Well, of course, you should move forward with your life. You should try to heal. You should try to learn from the experience. But to think the narcissist is done with you is quite, that's a mistake because narcissists are never really done with you. And whether or not they might eventually come back depends on a few things. Um, let's just start off by thinking, why did the narcissist no longer have an interest in you? Well, you were no longer supplying them at some point. Maybe you were no longer as interesting, the novelty of you wore off. Maybe you the pedestal that they put you on, you no longer lived up to impossible expectations, and you kind of showed signs that you were just a human being, and obviously anybody who's merely a human is not good enough for the narcissist. Whatever it was, at some point they would have realized that you were no longer supplying them, you were no longer energizing them in the same way, you were not exciting them in the same way, and that's when the devaluation would have started. And at that point, once they kind of see you as being low quality supply, it's a one-way route, which usually ends up to an eventual discard or you being pushed away because all they were doing was devaluing you. But and the narcissist is, in a way, they're okay with that. They're okay with you disappearing from their life, or at least for a while, after the intense devaluation, because you were not really offering them anything. Being with them, them being with you, you were not really offering them that much. But having broken up with you, in a way, you are offering them something, because the chances are, if you two would have broken up, they would have left you in a pretty miserable state, a pretty devastated state, in that confused place, just not understanding what happened, because narcissists, they introduce cognitive dissonance between the love bombing, the devaluation, the attention, the abuse. It kind of really confuses you, the way they alternate that. So what that means is, when they would have discarded you, you would have been in this very kind of confused, negative, miserable place. And the fact that they left you in that dark, negative, miserable place, that gives them supply, because they know that, I have power over this person. Sometimes even 3-6 months after they broke up with you, they still know that you're devastated because of them, and that makes them feel good. So having discarded you, they are actually feeling good about it. So being with you would have been bad because you're not offering them much supply or anything. But now that you're not with them and you're miserable, they actually get a good kick out of that. So they're happy in a way. You're serving your purpose. Maybe they're on to somebody else or multiple other people as well. But the fact that you're miserable because of them, that gives them a sense of empowerment over you, which strokes their ego and it supplies them. But this is the thing. Once you reach that point where you move on, once you reach that point where you're comfortable in your place, comfortable in your skin, and you're in a healthy place and on a healthy path, you start to feel good about yourself. You start to energize yourself. You start to feel fulfilled. And you're not really giving any signs that you're being miserable anymore, that you're feeling negative, all that bad stuff. At that point where you're starting to feel good about yourself, then you're not really giving the narcissist anything anymore, because you're not giving them that negative supply anymore. And they will quickly they will quickly pick up on the fact that you are doing well and you're feeling good. And that injures them. It injures them to know that, and they know they're no longer reaping supply from you. There's that residual energetic supply that you were giving them after the discard. You've really cut the tap off. And that's where the narcissist thinks, this isn't good. Narcissists typically have a lot of exes, the harem garage, as people call it. And the moment, the narcissists like to think that the people in their harem garage are all devastated, all miserable without the narcissist, because that's how they get the residual supply from the harem. But once somebody like you, who's in the harem, all of a sudden switches in and is doing well, that causes the narcissist to want to come back, because they're thinking, this person has something of value. They're no longer supplying me, being away from me, because there's no more negative supply. So I want to get the positive supply by being back in that person's life. And obviously then they'll devastate you again, and then they'll get the negative supply after that. And that's how the dynamic works with narcissists. That's how the dynamic works in the harem. And it is the narcissist's expectation that you will accept them back. It is their desire, their hope that you will accept them back if and when they do decide to reach out to you. You are now somebody of high value. You are now somebody who no longer gives them negative supply. Now their challenge is to find a way to come back into your life. They'll usually try slow methods. They have their ways. Let's just put it that way. Sometimes it comes as a Hoover, or at least at some point you'll receive a message from them, or coincidentally bump into them, or joint friends might mention them to you, or there are ways. But the thing is, their challenge is to find a way to come back into your life, and your challenge is not to accept them back and not to supply them anymore. Because the moment you entertain them, the moment you show them that despite all the harm they caused, you're still willing to accept them back, and you might even take them back, that puts your value very low again. So they'll get that initial high from having reconquered you, but they'll very quickly put you into that negative space again, where you'll be supplying them through your negative, miserable place that you'll be in. So they'll be feeding off of that. So just realize that this whole thing around narcissists, thinking they'll never come back because that's the impression they left you with when they discarded you, was that they couldn't care. Yeah, if you're forever going to be miserable, they might never come back, or they might come back just to kind of step on you, because they know they can. But when you're doing well again, when all of a sudden your value increases, that's when they have this compulsion to make their way back. Their new challenge is to find a way to succeed, and your new challenge is to find a way not to let them back in. Because once you reach that point where you've been through the process of being discarded, you've recovered, and they've reached out, you successfully said no, and you're not, or you basically just ignore them, and you're okay with that. When you reach that point where you no longer need them or want them back, then you're in a good place.